So I told you that eventually today we are going to solve absolute value equations. So now we are ready to solve an absolute value equation. So just a quick review. Do you guys remember what absolute value is? Matthew, what is it? Okay, so that's the symbol. Great. Do you know what it means? Okay, that's every student tells me that, which technically is correct, but that's not what absolute value means. That's how you show what the number is at the end, but what does it actually mean? Yes, Kayla. Zero? It has something to do with zero. Yes, Jaylee? It's the distance from zero. So like in this example of 5 and negative 5, they're both 5 units from zero. One's just on the right side, one's on the left side. Okay, so that's why, Matthew, you can say it's always positive. For example, a couple weeks ago, I drove to Austin. All right, so I drove out to Austin, and I drove back. Did I go one was a positive distance and one was a negative distance? No, I had the same distance there and back. All right, so distance is neither positive or negative. Okay? So that's why we say absolute value, everything becomes positive. Great. So now you have a quick review of that. Let's look at solving this basic absolute value equality. All right, so what numbers would work here for the absolute value of x is 3? What would make it true? 3 and negative 3, okay? Now look at the word that's in between. Why is it or? Because if I plug in 3, do I get a true statement? Yes. So if I plug in negative 3, do I also get a true statement? Yes. So either one would work. That's why we use the word or. Now look at the graph. Why is it just 2 filled in dots with nothing moving off of it like less than or greater than? Good, because it doesn't say anything about less than or greater than. So from now until the end of class, we're not going to have any shading left and right for when we do our graphs. Okay, so it's just going to be 2 points. All right, so every time you see an absolute value equality, you know that you should probably have 2 answers, one or another. Okay, so just keep it back in your mind. I probably should have 2 answers. Obviously, I'm not going to say that's the case all the time, because you know in math we have special cases. So that will come up today. Yeah, will it? Yeah, don't worry. I made it happen. Okay, let's try this one. Number 1, the way you want to do this is your first goal is to isolate your absolute value symbol. All right, so Matthew said it's those 2 bars that have the stuff inside of it. All right, if I look at that, which side of the equation is that on? It's on the left side. Is there anything over there that's not in the absolute value? The 4. So I got to do something with that. And what do you think students do with that 4 that makes me die inside? They distribute, because they treat this as parentheses. Is that parentheses? No. So do not treat it like parentheses. Please, I don't want to cry on your quiz. Okay, I will shed a tear right on your quiz. All right, so what should I do with that 4? I should divide it. Very good. If I divide by 4, I can move it to the other side. So that leaves me with what on the left side? X plus 2 in an absolute value, so I love that, so it's still in the absolute value, equals 5. All right, so this is my first checkpoint. All right, and the reason I put that check is because I need to make sure that my absolute value is isolated. It's by itself. So I just, as a reminder, I put a little check. I got it. All right. Once I'm here, you have permission from the math gods to take away the absolute value. But before you do that, you have to write the correct word. What word am I going to use to get my 2 answers? Or. Very good. So I'm going to write or, and that says, all right now, you can take off the absolute value. Okay? So from here on out, I have no more absolute value. Now, one of these answers is going to be when x plus 2 makes 5. Because what is the absolute value of 5? What's the absolute value of 5? It's just 5. It stays positive. Okay? So the absolute value of 5 is 5. But one of these could be x plus 2 makes negative 5. Because what is the absolute value of negative 5? Positive 5. Okay? So that's why I have 2 possible answers here. One where it's equal to a negative, one where it's equal to a positive. Okay? Because at the end, I'm going to take the absolute value of it. Any questions on that? And then after that, you should see it's just solving. You should know how to do that. Yes?
So you wouldn't do the absolute value of x minus 2x plus 2?
No, so you don't change anything inside here. So that doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the number you write after the equal sign. One is a positive, one is a negative. Notice where I wrote them. Where did I write them? The positive's on the right and the negative's on the left. Why do you think I wrote that? Because when I look at the answer, this one will be less than that one in terms of their value. Okay, so let's solve it. How do you get rid of the 2?
Minus 2.
So if you notice, the work is actually the same on both sides. So what is one of our answers?
Negative 7.
Very good. One of our answers is negative 7. Or
3.
it's 3. And as I said before, the reason that I wrote the positive on the right and the negative on the left was because, if you notice, negative 7 is in fact less than 3. All right, so just treat it like you're reading a book, left to right. All right, now, before we move on, I want to make a big deal about this because I'm going to get mad. You've never actually seen me get mad. I'll get mad today if I do not see this step. If I do not see that on every single problem you do, I'm going to get mad at you. And you'll know. Oh, you'll know. Oh, you will know. Okay? Oh, you'll know. Now, when you do this and you write the word or, what should not be in there? Absolute value. If I see that, oh, you'll know. Okay? So that's your checkpoint, and then I must see this. If I see this, I know you can finish the problem. All right? Now, in my other classes, students have been writing this, and they just stop working. Is that the answer? No, that's not the answer. But then I need to solve both sides, so don't forget to do that. All right, let's do the other one, number 2. Yeah. You don't need a graph. If I asked you to graph, how would you graph it?
You do a line, you do a negative 7, and then 3, and then both of them pull you in a circle.
So this is a disjunction because it is the word or, but there's no less than or greater than. So it would just be a solid point at negative 7 and a solid filled in point at 3. That's it. Okay? You wouldn't have any arrows going one way or the other. I'm not going to make you graph that, but that's all it would be, just 2 points. Okay? Let's look at this one. Is that absolute value of x by itself on the left side?
No.
It's not, so I got to move it over. I would add 3 to both sides. So now I have the absolute value of x equals 7. Is that it?
No.
No, but that is a checkpoint, all right, because my absolute value is by itself. So what am I allowed to do now?
X equals 7.
Before I start writing that? Or. I need to write the word or. That gives me permission. If you do not write the word or, you do not have permission to take off the absolute value. All right? So on the right side, I'm going to write x equals 7. And on the left side, now in this case, it actually is done. All right? Because I have nothing else that I need to get rid of. But that's a very rare case. All right? Now, a couple of things before I let you get started. A lot of students think it's always going to be like this, where one is a positive and one's a negative, and they're the same number. But notice, is that what we got on this one? No, so don't always assume that. Okay? A lot of students think, oh, one's 3, well, then the other one's negative 3. That may not be the case. All right, so show all of your work. You guys ready to try? All right, go!